was the first question of the day was how every time
So close.
every time was I always go to leave the meeting instead of got it. Was about Skyslope. So here's the deal. This is a really important conversation. Okay. Transaction coordinators, right? You hear about them and you're like, that elusive transaction coordinator. I'm never going to get to that spot in life where I get a transaction coordinator. Maybe you're like, I don't even know what a transaction coordinator is. Okay. A transaction coordinator, somebody's going to help you coordinate your transaction. There you go. No, okay, I'm joking. No, I'm not joking, but they are fabulous. As a newer agent, we like you to learn the Skyslope and the systems and kind of what goes on with a file before you hire a transaction coordinator. That being said, you could potentially hire a transaction coordinator on your first transaction if you really wanted to. Your mentor is just going to walk you through making sure you're familiar with Skyslope and command and how to send disclosures, like how to do all that stuff, because it's really important, because your transaction coordinator is a human and humans are amazing, but sometimes humans get sick or sometimes humans disappear or whatever. And so you need to know how to do that stuff on your own, so you're not dead in the water in the case that your transaction coordinator is out of pocket. So that's really, it really has nothing more to do with like, you can't be a good agent if you don't learn Skyslope. No, you can. We just don't want you to be dead in the water. We want to train you how to run your own business, how to be self-sufficient. Doesn't mean you should be self-sufficient, but we want to train you to be self-sufficient so that something happens, you can still function, you can still get your file closed, you can still be in compliance. So that's the goal behind when your mentor goes over how to do Skyslope and why we talk about Skyslope here and putting stuff in there. Nate, you can join us and how to put your demands in and do everything. It's just so that you have the knowledge base in case you needed to. Ongoing, there's no expectation, and you shouldn't be doing the stuff a transaction coordinator can do, right? Because the transaction coordinator is going to help you put all your stuff into Skyslope for compliance, make sure you're getting all the docs from, the listing agent or the buyer's agent, make sure everything's signed appropriately, filled out appropriately, I's dotted, T's crossed, dates filled in. They do all of that little stuff that you end up doing at like 11 o'clock at night. And you shouldn't be doing it at 11 o'clock at night. You should be focusing on continuing to lead gen and guiding your buyers or sellers through that transaction, and all the back end stuff should be done by a transaction coordinator. Your transaction coordinator is going to cost you somewhere between, I'm going to say $300 and $500 a transaction. You only pay them generally if the transaction closes. Okay. So it's not like you got to pay out of pocket. It's not something that you pay up front. It gets paid at the close of escrow, usually through your commission demand. Did somebody, Anastasia had a question.
So I'm looking on all the paperwork that I got from when I first signed up, and I don't see anything for Skyslope. So I don't know, is it the suite? Is it the forms? I've never logged into there.
We're going to log in here in a second. I'm going to log out and we'll log back in. You should have got username and password on that email that you get at the very beginning when you start with all the usernames and passwords. It should be on there. If it's not, check in with Megan and she can help track that down for you. Okay. It should be, though, your username should be your KW email address, I think is what they're still using. And I don't know what the default password is. There's usually a default, but I don't know what it is. So, but Megan can help you walk through that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so transaction coordinators, I think we have a list of like preferred vendors that has some transaction coordinators on it. Jen Delgado, she's fabulous. I'm just going to say that out loud as far as transaction coordinators go that are taking people and taking new clients. Jen is fabulous. And she has a couple different package options depending on what you want involved in that process. But
does she do yours too?
She does not do mine.
Okay. She was really nice. I told her I would use her when the time came. I also got an email. I don't know if any of you other people did, but there was like, I think on Monday, yesterday, somebody he's from Keller Williams, and he's like down like in Indian Wells, and he like introduced himself and was like, if you need a TC, like, I'm here to help.
I don't know where she said.
Cause I got an email from somebody too introducing themselves.
I did
Yeah.
too.
It's like out of state though.
Yeah, so there's marketing. So there's
Like down, he's from Keller Williams and he's like down in like Indian Wells, like down, isn't that like Southern California?
maybe, I don't know.
Maybe that's where I was.
I don't know SoCal,
It was somewhere far.
LA.
Yeah.
That's all I know. No,
Yeah.
that's right.
Big city.
Orange County. So there'll be emails, there's transaction coordination companies, there's no wrong or right answer. When you first start with a transaction coordinator, don't feel committed to that one. And like ask them what they're going to do for you, tell them you're new to, real estate and new to transaction coordinating and what services are, what are they going to do for you and what's their cost, right? And it's okay to like work through it on the first transaction and be like, no, we're just not melding very well. Like this person's literally your right hand, right? Like they're making things happen. So if you're not meshing well with them, or you don't like how their communication is, or you don't like the tone of their emails going to the other agent, like find somebody different.
Right.
Okay. You don't have to, like, just because you use them once doesn't mean you're stuck with that person forever. Okay. To answer the question about Jen does not do my files. I have a private transaction coordinator that I trained and hired just for me. And it's my sister. So she went and got her TC certification and she has done all my
What's the
files.
certification you need?
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to, but the DRE does, the California Department does offer a certificate program.
Question.
Yes.
Do you have them, do they, like you say, hey, I need you to send this off to get signed, and they put it all together and package it and get it signed?
Yes,
They
like-
do it all?
Yep. So like I have a rent back that's finishing up this week. And so Title sent me over the release of deposit, and I don't even have to, they just CC her on everything. She knows she needs to send it out to get signatures. So she'll send that out and get signatures. She reviews for my buyer transactions. She makes sure we get everything from the listing agent for the disclosure package that we need. She continues to make requests to make sure we get the remaining documents. A transaction coordinator will go through everything, make sure all the questions were answered appropriately. Not appropriately as incorrect, just make sure everything got yes or no boxes checked. And if there's a yes, that there's an explanation, make sure all the dates are in place, all the signatures are in place, that you get everything, that we get the NHD report. She uploads everything into my disclosures IO file for all my transactions, both listing and buyer transactions, so that everything's up in there. And then when it's time to send that stuff out for signatures, she's the one that loads it up and puts a little signature lines on it and everything. So yeah.
So does she want more clients, or is she only strictly for you?
Oh wait,
Friday.
Amy's leaving, so
Friday.
I'm kidding. Wait, right on the bus again, one more time.
I don't think she wants more clients, and yeah, I think she's just gonna phase out of it as I kind of phase out of it.
But is Shannon gonna still work your business here?
Shannon is still gonna work my business
Oh,
here,
okay.
but since Shannon will be running point on most of them, she uses Shelby Dean as hers, but Shelby's,
Oh.
I don't think, taking new clients. So.
Oh,
And there does come a point in your business, so everybody knows, like, you got to weigh your options between like having an individual transaction coordinator that you share with other people versus
Mhm.
hiring one at a monthly rate, right? So then you talk like cyberback or like virtual assistants or whatever, like what's the cost of that versus how many transactions are you doing? So what are you
Mhm.
paying? So there does come a threshold where like DPC hired an in-house transaction coordinator to take on all of theirs because they have enough transactions where it doesn't make sense to hire have an admin
mhm.
and hire
Okay, so-
a TC, right, for each transaction. Because once you start doing 3, 4, 5 transactions a month, now that cost doesn't, you've got to weigh your options, right?
Mhm.
So.
I may
um,
have missed something. What if you're not in a transaction, but you want all, do they do all the disclosures and send all of that over to get signed as well, even though like
Yes,
you don't
that-
do it unless you're in an offer?
No.
or
So if
in a
you have a listing, absolutely, from the time you get that signed listing agreement, you would kick it over to your transaction coordinator. Your transaction coordinator will put it all in the Skyslope for you. They'll send the disclosures out to your sellers for completion through Glide, oftentimes if you've got the right transaction coordinator, and then make sure it goes out for signatures and make sure everything's ready to go for the file. So for a listing, it's from the time the listing agreement signed, and for a buyer, it's from the time that you're in contract. Although if you're getting like buyer representation agreement signed and you have a transaction coordinator that you know you're going to use, then you can forward them over the buyer broker agreements, the BREs, and they will put them in a file so that they have them, so that when you do open escrow, they have all that stuff ready to go into that file. Yes.
Sam,
All right.
we would like to see your nails done. When you're ready for
Yes.
a transaction.
Yeah, we were talking about you, Sam.
Oh, she left.
She muted us
She
and
ran.
she's not unmuting.
Sam.
All right, we'll pick on Sam later.
Yep. we're
Coming
gonna
back.
do it.
All right.
Come back.
So that being said, Skyslope, for the most part, what's going to happen once you hire transaction coordinators, you're going to forward that listing agreement over, forward that buyer signed purchase agreement over. Oh, Sam's back.
Thank you. Sorry, I was answering phones. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Where are the nails? Where are the nails?
Yeah, we want to see the nails when you get them done.
I will eventually.
Then when there's time.
When there's
Look,
time.
you've got
When
the
there's time,
prosperity
yes.
anymore.
Thank you.
All right. So Skyslope, most of the time, they're going to be starting the Skyslope file for you. All of our transaction coordinators that are used by this office all have their own logins for Skyslope. Okay. If you hire a transaction coordinator that doesn't do business with our office yet, they can be added to Skyslope as a transaction coordinator. So they have their own login.
And how do they get added? Who do you go through?
You would give it, I think, probably to Emily.
Okay, Emma.
I'm gonna say Emily.
Pass it
Send
up.
the email to Emily and CC Megan. Somebody will get them set up.
Right.
I don't know who does that. All right. So they're gonna go in there, create it. What'll happen is you'll log in and be like, oh my gosh, look, I have a transaction in Skyslope, right? And you'll probably never log into Skyslope again is really what's gonna happen, but your transactions will be in there. Now, let's say that you get a transaction started and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm busy and I don't know why I didn't hire a transaction coordinator before getting the signed purchase agreement back. And now I'm going crazy and I need to hire somebody to get them added to a file you've already created. What you're going to do is you're going to come in here to your file. You're going to open the file. So this is Skyslope. So it's just skyslope.com here. I'm sorry. I said I would mention it and then I just breezed right through that process. I apologize. To get here, just Skyslope, oops, if you can spell correctly, skyslope.com will take you, generally speaking, to this screen where you can just go log in. Okay. Yep, it's the suite. It's not Skyslope Forms, it's the Skyslope suite to answer Anastasia's question from earlier. Thank you.
Yes, and Megan already got me in.
Yes, perfect. And this is the login. You're just going to put in your username and password and hit sign in. Now, if you're smart, you would save this page. Bookmarking pages is way too complicated.
Mark.
All right. From here, if you were creating a transaction, you hit create transaction. If your TC already did it, you would just go to either active or pending. Your active are going to be listings that aren't under contract right now, and your pending are going to be anything under contract. So your buyer transactions or listings once they go under contract. Okay. It's not that exciting. It should look way better than this. This also is where you can go in. Let's say you had a transaction that closed and like a buyer's like, hey, can I get a copy of that, pest inspection again? Number one, if you had a disclosures IO file, you can always pull it from there and just share them the link and then they get everything. You can let them know they can download everything and have everything that was part of that transaction. Or you can come in here and you can search for old transactions. So I can search for like Oakview. Right. And then you can access your old transactions with all the files. So the reason we use Skyslope is for compliance. This is where our files are saved for the 23 years that they need to be saved. I don't know what I clicked on just now. It's not 23 years, but
Not the real estate book. I don't know what it was.
but this is where we save that. This is also where you get that email address that you should CC all correspondence to when you're into contract. Once you have a listing and the listing agreements in here, that's when you start with that email address. So any pre-listing conversations, opening pre-escrow, whatever should go through here and be forwarded. Or once you're in contract with a buyer, and then once you're in contract with a buyer, you should really backtrack and forward all the previous emails into this file.
So I've been getting a return email, like when I use the Skyslope email file, like CC it. Do you think I should be using it as an actual email address and not CC? Because it returns back to me.
It should not return back to you. So if it is, we'll double check that later. We'll help you out. It shouldn't be returning it. And-
I was just saying that one.
Yeah, and if you are getting something kicked back, there's a problem. So either we've typed in the email address incorrectly, or sometimes Skyslope does have glitches on occasion. So you may have to contact support and be like, hey, every time I forward the emails, I'm getting them kicked back.
Okay.
It may be a glitch that they have to go in and fix. All right, so let's say that we have a transaction and we want to add somebody to it. If we want to add a transaction coordinator, we can click on the transaction. And we wait for it to open. And then inside, so the only way to add it here in this file, once you've already created a file, is to add your transaction coordinator as a co-agent. Okay, and just so you know, if you add them as a co-agent, whoever you add as a co-agent will then be able to see the file. So if you have transactions, you want your mentor to be able to see them, adding the mentor as a co-agent is a good place to do it. And you can have more than one co-agent. So you can add like a transaction coordinator and a mentor. But that would allow the mentor then to log into their Skyslope and be able to see your file in case you ever had any questions with it.
Oh, okay.
I can see everybody's files. So you don't gotta add me. Yeah.
I see all.
So because I'm the broker, I also have a compliance login, so I can log in on the other side and see everybody's files. So if you ever have a question for me, I can log in there and see what's
So
going
you
on.
can add multiple people.
You can add multiple people. So all you would do is you just come here where it says co-agent. It might be blank. It might have somebody in there. You click add. It's gonna pull up. So here's where I could put. It doesn't matter. I could put her there. You were gonna hit save here. Don't forget. She's already in here because I think she created this file. So there's another place for the actual transaction coordinator, but this would be where you would add it if you'd already created the file. So you're gonna hit save there, and then you're gonna hit next.
Very important.
It's very important, otherwise it doesn't seem to work. So once we hit next, now if I go back to transaction coordinator, or back to transaction, now if we click this drop down, it's gonna show all the people. Yeah. Okay, so that's how you would add a transaction coordinator. Again, if you already had hired one, you sent them over a copy of the purchase contract, they created the file. They're not gonna show up here as co-agent, they'll show up as the transaction coordinator for the file because they created the file. Okay, so it's a little different. So she's probably on here twice now. She's probably gonna get annoyed because she's like, why do I got this file twice?
No, that's can you delete them?
You can. So to delete somebody,
And be like, oh crap, I put the wrong.
yeah, so then we would just come in here and just hit add again, same place where we added them. And then you could come in here and we could X out and then hit save and then next.
Okay.
Yeah. At the beginning, it's submit. When you set up the file, it starts with a submit or you're creating a new offer, but then it just becomes next.
So otherwise, when we initially put this in Skyslope, it asks you in the beginning, right? If you have a TC.
I don't know if it does. I don't think it does. It's just if the transaction coordinator creates it, it'll ask who the agent is.
Oh.
So it
goes a
automatically
different
adds.
way.
Yeah,
Oh,
it automatically adds.
Are
both
you
sides.
recording this?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes.
And so when we're initially, since it doesn't actually say TC, then it would be in a co-agent. So if we were wanting to put that in, like start the page, like
Yes.
for whatever reason, we would
Yeah.
add them. Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
and it'll list them, like this one lists Shannon as an agent, it lists the transaction coordinators as TC.
Got it.
They don't have quite as much access, so
So
yeah.
what you're saying, if you have a TC, you're not gonna be the one initially setting in all the information. You would send that to them and they would be doing it.
Yes,
Okay.
once you do your first transaction, you see how to set this up, then
Got
your
it.
transaction coordinator would do your future, can do your future ones.
Got it.
Okay. Now, you'll hear different people say different things about, some agents in this office still don't have a transaction coordinator and they're like, I just do it all myself. Don't. Okay. Did you hear everybody hear me? Don't. Okay. You can. That doesn't mean you should, right? You should be focusing on your 20%, not the 80% that doesn't make you money. So let somebody else do this back end stuff. Let somebody who excels in this do that. Okay.
You're saying even before your first transaction. Say that once more, Amy.
We usually recommend that you do at least one transaction on your own without a transaction coordinator.
Got you.
And you can
And
still talking with people now before you have a transaction in escrow, talking to different transaction coordinators, so who you mix with, having phone conversations and getting that set up so you know who you're going to use moving forward. And if you got partway through your first transaction and wanted to bring a transaction coordinator on, you could do that. There's nothing stopping you, especially like if your first transaction is like a buy sell where you're listing their property, then they're helping buy another one. Then you may want to go ahead and bring somebody on, but you're just gonna need that as well. Okay, Nate, I just muted you just because it's loud out there. If you want, you can come in here though, Nate, you're welcome. You just bring a chair.
We can't hear you, you're muted now.
All right, well, we'll let it go. All right. So there's Skyslope, there's your overview. That's how you would add a transaction coordinator, or like I said, your mentor to the file so that they can get in there and see, because you'll be like, why'd that go purple? And you'll be like, I don't know, I can't see it, right? So then they've got to get your login, but if you add them, then it pops up. Like, I think I've got somebody's on here.
Hey man, if you go down
Oops.
just a little bit,
Oh,
can you ask you a side question? Just real quick?
hold on, Heather has a side question. I already clicked on
Oh, okay,
something.
well, I'll show you
No,
mine.
we're good. What? How far down?
The list right here, the listing commission versus sale commission.
Oh.
Is this I put this in wrong originally. I thought it was 6 and then what you were getting for that's
Oh,
not.
no, it's just both sides.
Okay,
Where's
okay,
the-
so that one's right, right?
That one's right. She
Right
had,
below, oh,
I am
this is
not-
different, but right
Oh.
below
Yeah.
where it says sell price,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
says listing price. It says listing commission, sale commission. So I was putting like
The
the big
total
number on
commission.
the left and then the whatever I was getting.
Got it.
yeah, but it's saying
but-
the listing is, what is the listing agent getting? And the
Listing
sales
agent, so-
commission is what is the
Got it,
buyer's
okay,
agent
okay.
getting. This one
They
doesn't
didn't
have it
speak of
because
this
it's a
in
new
school.
home.
Yeah, yeah.
This is a new home, so it
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
have
yeah,
them both. Yours
Got
is the listing, so it has
Yeah.
both.
Yeah, I gotcha. I gotcha.
Okay,
Thank you.
I have a question.
yes.
Say that you put, the close date and that was getting moved up and you forgot to change that. What happens?
Nothing.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. I mean, you should at some point go in there and update it because sometimes they may not review it as frequently. Like if I had my close escrow date, it's June 30th and then it ends up closing on June 10th. They just may not have it on their radar screen to watch it quite as close if it's a substantial difference. So I may get all my final documents uploaded and be like, hey, review it. And they're not reviewing it. And I just need to change the close escrow.
Mhm.
But it's not a big deal if you don't. All
Okay. Thank you.
right. Any other Skyslope questions? All right, we're gonna move
Oh,
on.
I
No,
do.
no,
I-
no, Mila, you missed your chance. No, go ahead, Mila.
How do you, like, say for instance, I'm uploading a file. Like I have a file that the listing agent sent me and it had a whole bunch of things
Oh,
added.
yeah.
So I know how to split, right?
Uh-huh.
But what about the things on it that I don't need?
Okay, so if we go in here to documents,
Mhm.
so if we have emailed it, right, we CC'd the email associated with the file, then all those documents are gonna magically appear here in the documents thing. These ones that have paper clips are ones that have been assigned to something,
Mhm.
and ones with no paper clip haven't been assigned.
Mhm.
Oh, here, this one. So this here, if I go in and hit split here, it's gonna give me the breakdown, and you can do this either way, but so from here, this allows you to select, like maybe I want the RPA. Hold on, it's still loading. All right, we got the builder's purchase agreement. So maybe those are pages 1 to, we're just gonna make stuff up, 5, okay? And then maybe page 6 is nothing that we
Mhm.
want or need. We can just skip on to page 8
Oh,
and
mhm.
then go communication log from 8 to, I was like, I don't know what's in this file because it's a new home, right?
Oh,
So
wait, what?
so you can skip pages, and then once you hit and only use, maybe we don't care about the rest of the pages after page
Mhm.
11, hit split and assign, and the rest of the documents just get split out and not assigned.
But it'll still be uploaded.
It'll add these to those correct places.
Okay.
So whatever you choose, and then you don't have to do the rest, and it'll just stay in the documents as an unassigned portion.
Okay. Also, too, I noticed for the mobile home, it doesn't say RPA, it says manufactured home purchase agreement. So I went in and renamed it, but it didn't accept the name that they were asking me to put it under.
So even though it says on ours, because the new one is a purchase agreement with the mobile home addendum, you're just gonna, you're gonna select the purchase agreement and upload it to the mobile home section of it, the mobile home purchase agreement as the purchase agreement. You don't have to rename it.
Oh.
You can just
okay.
go in there and select it and connect it to that line item.
Okay. And I gotta probably figure out what it's saying.
Okay, so I haven't made it to
Oh,
this
it's
stage yet, so
like-
what the heck did you just do there? What
Okay.
are you splitting
All right,
this
so
up for?
This is a really poor example. So let me find a better example. Because this one's a new home and so everything's different.
I want to rename all these at the same time. Yeah, 'cause I have like 30 pictures.
I don't know what's in, all these are really bad examples. It's really what it comes down to. All right. So here I'm in a traditional sale. So if I go into the documents, you can also, if you don't CC it, you can upload documents to the documents tab. So we could go in here and hit upload document, and you could upload like on the purchase agreement, right? It's got the agency disclosure and the PRBS and the WFA and the purchase agreement and the buyer's inspection advisory, right? There's multiple documents associated. So if I uploaded the purchase agreement, it may have multiple documents on it. And our goal is we have this checklist inside of Skyslope, and we're trying to get everything. It'll say like required. And then once it's been uploaded and reviewed, then it goes to completed. And if it's reviewed and there's something wrong with it, it'll turn purple.
Okay.
Rejected. It's rejected. And then they usually will add a note here of why it was rejected, like what needs to be fixed. So we don't want to upload, like this says the residential purchase agreement. We don't want to upload the purchase agreement and the agency disclosure and the PRBS and the WFA all under that. They all have their own, the buyer's inspection advisory, the agency disclosure, they all have their own line item. So you could get on your computer and you could save each one individually, or you could go in here and we go into documents. And you could upload or CC the Skyslope file, right? So if you CC this email right here, it would automatically add that document in, or you could go to your computer and you could upload something.
Can I pause you on the CC part when you said it automatically? So if I'm here, if I have the RPA and I'm sending it, CCing that email, I don't know where else I'm sending it to, because you're saying CC. So it's gonna automatically put it in the right category, or it's just gonna plop it there and I have to know?
It's just gonna plop it there.
Okay,
It's
but you're saying CC, so who else am I sending it to?
So if you were,
It's a whole nother day. We're on
I
a
know.
whole nother
Sorry, I'm
day.
not tracking you
All right,
guys, and I'm
so,
like,
all right, so maybe we wrote an offer.
yeah.
It got accepted, we got the accepted offer back, and now we're sending it over to the lender and to title.
Okay.
So they have it to open escrow, and
Got
so the lender can start the loan process.
Okay.
At the same time, we can CC the Skyslope file,
Got it.
or you can
Okay.
just email the Skyslope. You don't have to
Okay,
CC, you
see,
could
that's
just
where I'm
email.
like, you have to CC.
No,
like,
you don't.
You screwed up. Nope, now you're just done.
No, you're
A
just
lot
done.
of
You're
times- a
emailing
lot of
yourself,
times-
CC.
A lot of times the people don't even put that on there, so then you have to reply and add it,
Oh, geez.
because
Okay.
every email needs to be in Skyslope.
Oh, okay,
That's why she's
see,
saying-
yeah. See
Yeah,
everything.
so everything needs to be. in
I
there.
probably missed the video like 5 weeks ago, sorry.
No, you're totally
I
fine.
only know because I'm going through it right now.
All right, so I just hit upload. I'm uploading a document to the file. It has nothing to do with this file, but we're just gonna pretend it does.
Someone's gonna be mad at you later.
It won't matter on this side of it. All right, we're just waiting for it to upload. So yeah, so anyways, so here's that file. If I had CC'd it or forwarded it to the Shelter Hill from my email, it would appear here just like this as well.
Got it.
It'll pull it out of the email and put it as a document.
There we go.
So it'll look the same.
And I'm noticing it saying PDF, but does it matter the format of what's in your email?
It
does
will-
have to be.
Yeah, so it'll only let you upload PDFs. It
Okay.
does pull like these are pictures,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you can't assign those. See,
Yeah.
it doesn't give me an option to split these.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay.
And I don't ever go in here and rename stuff.
Okay.
unless I don't have any reason I would ever do that.
Okay.
I don't know why.
I'm just doing it right now. This evening.
Can you stop? I'm doing.
Obsessive compulsive.
Yes. Yeah.
May want to rename it.
But I mean,
It's
like,
totally
if
okay, but
you-
there's no purpose.
If you named it, you're what you wanted it to be from the get-go anyway, so it would just automatically be there. So you just kind of figure out what your system would be. And
Yeah.
you save time for that.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So from here, if I want, if it was like, hey, is this the right document? If I hover over the eyeball, it'll pop up with a preview, so I can be like, oh, yep, this is the right one, right? And then from here, we can hit split is one way to do it. To get it onto that checklist, to get it so it's in review. So we're gonna hit split and wait patiently, not click it 10 times. And then from here, it gives you like a preview of the document. So I know that page 1 is the agency disclosure, so I can go agency.
So the autofill is from the other page. That's the name. So like, that's where that name came
Yeah,
from.
this is coming from the checklist.
Okay, because I'm like, crap, you're gonna have to have 2 screens open to see what the names are.
No.
Put it right. Okay.
So,
cool.
and
Okay.
it'll search, I can search agency, I can search if I knew that the acronym for this one was AD, agency disclosures popping up there. So maybe I want to go here and then I can scroll down and be like, that's page 1 and 2, right? So I'm going to go page 1, page 2, then I'm going to scroll down further and go fair housing. So page 3 is fair housing. I think this one has some funky name, but let's try. Oh no, what's that? So page 3 is fair housing. That's page 3 and 4. So we're gonna go 3 and 4. And then page 5 is the PRBS. So here we go, PRBS. And that's page 6, 5, and just 5. And it tells me what page up here at the top.
Nice. Yeah.
Wire fraud is page 6. And maybe to Mila's point, maybe I don't need the wire frauds because I already uploaded it or something. So we could skip that one and go to page 7, which is the RPA. So we would just skip 6 and then you can plug in RPA. In Mila's case, this would be the mobile home purchase agreement. Even though it's the regular purchase agreement, we're still going to upload it in the same spot, right? And then you could scroll down and be like, this is forever pages. And I'm not counting because I know that it's going to tell me once I get to the end.
Now, for all of our documents that I noticed initials, isn't all of them have an initial? Like, you won't skip a page where it's just information? Like, even if there is, it's still something you're like, you read this initial here.
Yeah, as long as there's initial on the bottom, you would always
Got it,
initial.
okay.
The only ones that are optional on like the RPA is the middle initials for the liquidated damages or the arbitration of disputes. So here I'm at page 22, so I would go 7 to 22 here.
Awesome.
So the, and then, right, so we could do it this way. And then once you're done and you've selected everything that you wanted to select, then you would come in here and you hit split and assign. Okay, I'm not going to do that again because it doesn't belong to this file. So we're just going to pretend. Now, the other way to do it is if we go to the checklist. Sam, I see your hand up and I'll get you here in just 2 seconds. If we knew what the name of the file was and we didn't need to split it, we could just go in here and hit attach from the checklist. And you could either upload a document or you could select it from the unassigned files.
And so like right there, that would have been whatever name you put it because that's for memory. But if it doesn't match that name, that doesn't really matter.
It doesn't
As
matter
long
if
as
it
they open
matches
and
or
see
not.
It's the right thing.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, the names of the documents don't matter as
Okay.
long as what you've uploaded is what that document is. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
From doing it this way, you can't split it off. So it has to just be the pages of
Oh,
the
okay.
document. So if you go in there to hit assign, it has to just be that specific document.
Got it. Okay.
Sam's has a question. Go, Sam.
It's kind of related to this. When I'm in, what do you call it? When you do the transactions, when you download it from, why can't I think of it? Org.com. What is it?
Oh, your zip forms. Yeah.
The zip forms. Thank you. For some reason, I can visually see that.
With orange. We're cracking.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's not downloading when I go to everything signed, it's not downloading my RPA.
Yeah, I don't know.
It'll
what
download
that is.
everything else.
Yes.
Okay, so it's everyone.
Yeah, so
Okay.
then what you need to do, okay, so what happens sometimes, so this is a whole side note from Skyslope. So there's your tutorial on Skyslope.
Appreciate it.
Don't
Okay.
forget to delete that.
I just leave it in there, it's fine.
Oh,
It doesn't
No,
matter.
that's funny. I was like, how do you delete that from me? if I
Oh, you
upload
can-
the wrong
okay,
thing?
wait, hold on, before we go up. If
Sorry.
normally, okay, so normally the rule is that once it's in Skyslope, you just leave it in there, you don't delete it.
Even if it's the wrong thing.
Even if it's wrong, you get in trouble, it's whatever. But it's okay because like this one, it totally doesn't belong. You're like, oh crud, I uploaded the wrong file. There's probably, I don't even know if there's a way to delete it from here.
I
If
just saw a trash bin at the bottom of mine.
you can delete it from if you assigned it to the wrong thing. If you like, here's the RPA and you're like, oh, darn it, that's the
Oh, to the checklist you're saying? You
yeah,
can
to the
delete it?
checklist, you can delete it from there, but from here, I don't even think.
Yeah, I just saw trash on the. bottom, but
Trash.
I couldn't figure out how to get it.
So
out.
see, I checked the box and then hit trash.
I'm gonna check on it.
It's all right. I'm in charge.
Exactly. Mic drop.
All right, we're just gonna let that sit there. There it goes. And so see, it deleted it from trash.
Okay.
So if you upload the
But that's
whole
good to
wrong
know.
thing,
Very
Really,
bottom.
it won't hurt it for it sitting there.
Yeah.
At
Like,
the very
don't go
bottom,
making
there's a
flags for
little
yourself.
trash file.
Got
So
it,
I'm sure
okay.
just
yeah,
sits
it
there.
sits there. All right.
Okay, cool.
So now back to Sam's question. Oh, Anastasia, go ahead and ask your question while I'm.
Is there a more detailed recording of the sky slope first? And then second, where it says apps up on the top bar, do we use any of those at all? It says Forms, Docusign, and Breeze.
I do not. Occasionally you can send something out from Skyslope to be signed and then it'll assign it to the right file, but I don't do anything out of Skyslope. And there is a more in-depth training on, although that one was pretty good. I mean, it was pretty quick, but we went through just about everything you needed to go.
I know, right?
There are some other Skyslope trainings though on the new agent training spreadsheet.
Okay, thank you.
Last year. Oh, got a question. Go ahead.
No, I can wait till afterwards. It
All
was
right.
just, what does something mean?
So
That's what everything is.
what does one mean? I let go. Now I'm,
Escrow holder acknowledgement.
oh, okay. So since we were talking about Skyslope, I'm hesitant to move on until we answer all of our questions.
Sorry.
So escrow holder acknowledgement is the last page of the purchase agreement. On the bottom, there's a place for the escrow holder to sign that they've received a copy of it.
Oh, I'm looking through emails.
So, so it's page, it used to be page 10 of the contract. It's longer now, so I don't know what page is the last, 14, I think is the last one. But so what happens is you get a residential purchase agreement, you sign it, everybody signs it, it's ratified. Everybody, buyers and sellers all sign and agree to it. We upload that to Skyslope. You're a complete contract. You also send a copy of the contract to the escrow holder, and when the escrow holder receives the deposits, they send over a copy of the receipt of deposit along with the escrow holder acknowledgement, which is that last page of the contract where they fill in all their information and they sign it as well.
What was the name of that? What was your question? I'm sorry.
Right here is escrow, sorry.
Mila, did that go up on your checklist?
Yeah, it's on the checklist.
Oh, so
Yeah.
it'll pop up later.
Escrow
And I'll
holder
ask you what it
It
is.
should
Okay,
be in
got
here
it.
someplace.
Mhm.
So that will be after they get the deposit and sign that. Okay, so-
Oh,
I
yeah,
put
yeah.
something in here, but I wrote a note to
All right.
them to ask them if that was the right thing. They will respond back, right?
They usually will respond
Oh,
back.
Okay,
I didn't
and then
know
if
that.
I have something that's attached to the wrong thing and in the review, will they put it where it should go? Or will
They
they
will
just tell
not.
me?
They'll just tell you you did the wrong thing. They'll just slap your hand.
Oh.
All right. They're busy. They don't have time to move all your documents around. All right. So Sam's question is, lately what's been happening is when you put a bunch of documents together with your residential purchase agreement, and then you get an email saying all the documents have been completed and you download it, it's not downloading the resident, it downloads all the other documents, but the purchase agreement just poof vanishes and you can't get it to download, and it's very frustrating. Okay.
Oh.
So, if you log directly into Docusign, you could probably log into, okay, so there's probably two ways to do this. Let's do both.
This is to get what portion? again?
The residential purchase agreement sometimes doesn't download. Or when you forward the email, for whatever reason, it leaves it off. I think it has to do with the file size being too big.
Yeah. I
So
get
it just
that.
drops it. All right, so the two options are, we can do it through zip forms and we can do it through Docusign. So if you log into your Docusign account, right?
Mhm.
So your Docusign should be linked to your zip forms, and that's usually what you should be using. It's what you should be using, everybody, for your electronic signatures.
Yeah.
Don't use the
Did
whatever it is through zip forms, the Docusign or
Mhm.
whatever it is
Mhm.
directly. It's not as user-friendly as Docusign. It's more user-friendly than it used to be, but Docusign is free. And if you log in with your KW email,
Right.
it's free.
Right.
Okay, it's one of the perks of being a KW agent. Normally it's $240 a year. You get it free. So just keep that in mind. when you think about like, maybe I should go someplace else, think all the
Right.
things you're getting for free.
And they'll reimburse you too if you just pay for the subscription and you didn't link your KW, they'll reimburse you.
They'll refund you the money.
Nice.
All right, so if you log into DocuSign directly, this is where all of your magic files go when they're signed. Okay, they all magically appear here. So if you go into manage.
One more question.
Yes,
How do you zero out all those documents on the top? You had all zeros there. I have like a ton.
okay, well, we'll go back to that here in a second.
Okay, sorry.
No, don't be
You're not
sorry.
getting the gun.
Was there a glide question today?
Yeah, remember? How
Some-
to put the TC on it.
Oh, I thought that was what we were doing a second
Oh,
ago.
on Glide too.
Glide.
All right.
So funny.
All right, so I'm just trying to find one that has a purchase agreement. So give me just a second here. It's probably because I'm looking at addresses and it should say something else. Oh, here, this one. All right. So if we click on this one, here we've got all the documents that were signed, and this is one that I had a problem with. I've got the residential purchase agreement in here. It wouldn't download it. Sometimes from here, if you hit download, if we uncheck all 8 PDFs, well, let's go, well, it's just documents, and hit download. Sometimes that'll work. So that's your first option, is you just go in there and click it. It's gonna do a zip file. So we're gonna download that. We're gonna see if this worked. Flash at me, I'm being impatient. I'm just gonna keep clicking until you open. Okay, so you double click on the zip file, it just compresses it down for you in case you don't know what a zip file is. Not a big deal, it just puts it into a folder and then it compresses it to make it easier to download. All right, and then it opened on my other screen, so let's pop that open. So here, see, we have additional agent acknowledgement, contingency removal, the FVAC, the HLM, market conditions. There's no residential purchase agreement, right?
Those ones.
Oh, I know how I get around it. Okay, so the other thing that you can do is you can go print.
I also somehow, I don't know, it pulls up and I'm able to download it individually, but I'm not exactly sure, remember how I did it, but I did it.
Here. Okay, here, what I could do is I could go into more settings and then go open PDF and preview. And then now I have, it's gonna make sure it didn't open on the other screen, because there it goes, yeah. So now I've got that whole thing and I can save it and it'll have, there's the agency disclosure, the fair, right, everything that's attached to the purchase agreement. So here's the purchase agreement. So that's one way to do it if you print it.
Can you go in and change the name of it?
Yeah, so from here, I can just go in here and click on this name. If you have a Mac, if you have a PC, don't ask me how to do it. And I could go, right?
Mhm.
So that I can rename it. So that way I can reattach it to an email and send it on its way.
So in order to rename, you have to do the print and then save as a PDF. And okay.
If it's not allowing.
If it's not allowing you. Now, the other way that you can do it is if we come over here to car.org, which is where we started with that .org website.
I'm wondering how that's DocuSign.
Org.com.
Okay. Oh,
Ha
also,
ha ha.
no, not haha, just that .org. That's car.org. That's the only website we use. That's .org.
That's so funny.
So I knew exactly what it was that you're talking about. The other
I
thing,
did too.
the other thing that happens with DocuSign too is sometimes you'll go to send stuff out and then for whatever reason, the window won't pop up to actually do the
Yes,
signatures.
yes,
Mhm.
uh-huh.
Just a little side note, in DocuSign, if you go to home, or sorry, if you go manage, and then we come down here to drafts. If you go to zip forms and it doesn't pop open that window, but you hit sign and DocuSign, it acted like it was gonna go and then it didn't go anywhere. It's gonna be sitting here in drafts. So
Oh,
it'll
okay.
save it inside. So then you just come in here and DocuSign and then you can hit continue and then pick up where you would have left off from zip form. So
Got it.
just a little heads up on that. That drafts file will be your
Always check.
friend.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got it.
If you've lost something or something didn't open
I
right.
remember saying that before, but not for this.
I had
to this.
7 of them in there and I was like, Amy, it is not sending.
All right, to answer Sam's other question, we backtrack to DocuSign real quick. These, how to zero these out is you have to sign all the documents that have signatures waiting for you. That's action required or ones that have for you to sign.
Mhm.
It's waiting for others is documents that you've sent out that haven't been signed by whoever's supposed to sign them.
Mhm.
Okay, and if there's any in these 2 folders that are expiring soon, that appears in number 3,
Mhm.
expiring soon. So that's the only reason those would have numbers and something got sent and it's not signed yet.
So it keeps your completed no matter what.
You're completed, it likes you to keep track of how many things you've ever sent out for signatures.
So
Okay.
Like 7 DocuSign accounts. So.
if you click on it, does it bring you to those documents if you're waiting on?
Oh,
them?
yeah.
Like if it was-
Yeah,
Yeah, so
there
if I
was
click
one?
action
Okay.
required, it would pull up anything
Oh,
that had
okay.
action required.
Okay, you're not like, let me check all these
No,
folders.
and if you have something that's waiting for signature,
Telling you.
you can get emails. But you can also come in here. So if it says something and it's like waiting for others.
To see if they'll let us
Oh, hold on,
prepare.
let me go back to home.
When you need a call, see if it has a lead call.
You click waiting for others, it'll pull up that same list, and then it'll say waiting for one other or waiting for 2 others, and you can hover over it, and it'll show you who has signed and who hasn't signed, so that you can like text that person, be like, Mila, I'm still waiting for your signature on that, residential purchase agreement, so I can submit the offer, right? So you can see exactly who has taken care of it and who hasn't.
Is there a way you can delete it? Just say, for instance, like they changed their mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in here, this is a really bad example day, because apparently I'm on top of everything right now.
Right, organized.
Right, but let's say there was something in draft, so let's go there. It's gonna look almost the same. But let's go here. I got send an envelope. Hold on. Give me just 2 seconds. We'll get back to the other way. I won't forget. Okay, so I'm just creating a file from here. So you can do that for anything, just so you guys know if you need anything signed,
Mhm.
whether it's real estate related or personal, you got to sign your kid's report card. Like you can throw it in here and send it to yourself for a digital signature and then email it back to the teacher. Just something to think about there.
Mhm.
So I send all sorts of stuff through here, right? So I
That's why
can.
you got 7 accounts.
No, it's because all the stuff from the broker that you send me to sign goes into the kwvv at gmail.broker@gmail.com, and then I've got the Capper and training one that I sign stuff. So I don't actually have. Those are all the free sides of the account, so I can't actually go in there and sign very many, like set very many up. But in here I can go on forever. Amy.Cotard. Oh. All right, so needs to sign, right? You can also in here, you can add recipients to any of your files. So you can't do it in zip forms, but once you get it to the DocuSign window, you can go in there and hit, well, I'll show you here in a minute. So let's do that. And then we're going to hit next. So I'm just going to send this up with a couple signatures so you can see how to do a couple things. Look at this tutorial of how to use all of our systems today.
Telling you.
All right, we're just gonna go, we're gonna pretend. So if you click on the initial, you can bring it over here, click, there it adds an initial. And then here, if I click signature, normally this would be, theirs, and then date, you just click date. You can click and drag, but I find that makes my thumb hurt. If I click and drag, but if you just tap on it, it just magically follows you around. If I don't like something, like I'm like, oh man, I put that in the wrong spot. If you click on it, you can hit the delete button and away it goes. If you had more than one signer, you could come up here and you could select recipients to signs. And you could, let's say that I put this under mine. I was like, oh, darn it, that was supposed to be the buyers. I could come over here and it would give me the option to change between the signers over here. I only have one signer right
Can
now.
you add someone last minute? Like say
Yes.
for instance, you needed to add yourself.
Yep. So right here, let's say I went into zip forms, created the purchase agreement and getting it set up for signatures. If you do it through there, it automatically adds all the signature lines, which is really handy on something that's a new document. And then maybe I want to add somebody to it, or maybe you're like, oh, darn it, I have that SELM form, that seller exclusion from the multiple listing service that the broker needs to sign, and I forgot to add Amy to the package. We can come in here to actions and hit edit recipients from here, you could add a recipient. So we could add, like you could add your TC to it or the broker. I don't know why it didn't select her email. It needs to sign, or maybe you've got a spouse that's not on the purchase agreement, but you want them to be able to review the documents. You can come over here and toggle this to receives a CC copy. And now they'll get a CC copy of it where they can go in there and review the documents with, so they can review them together, but it's not going to prompt them to sign. So like my transaction coordinator, I CC her on documents when I'm on my game and I remember to do so.
Thank you.
Because then she gets a copy of it when it's all done. Okay. So, and you can add as many recipients as you wanted. And maybe we're going to add, trying to think of somebody that's in here with an email, right? Needs to sign and then hit done. All right. So then you can come back. Remember these, if I clicked on this initial now and I was like, oh, that was the wrong person, I can come over here and I can switch it to the other signer.
Oh,
So yeah, it toggles different colors.
Change it.
No,
Thank you.
so you can just do that. And then on the next one, you can be like, oh, now it was supposed to be him. So I'm doing his. Right. And you can toggle between them over here too and see how it changes the color. So now if I'm on this person, when I pull it over, oh, let's come back and go to initial. Now I got a yellow and a blue.
Nice.
Okay. Normally, if I'm having to go in there and sign like a purchase, like the sellers to sign the purchase agreement, I'll do all of one seller first and then come back up the other way with the other seller, just so I'm not switching back and forth between them. Okay. So that's how you would do that. We are going to, hold on, I'm just going to take the extra people off real quick. Delete. All right, done.
The recipient will receive it after everyone has signed.
The CC will receive, as soon as everybody receives it, as long as we don't have the box checked. So if on edit recipients here, see there's this box for set signing order.
Mhm.
As long as this box isn't checked, everybody will get an email as soon as I hit send that notifies them that they have documents they can review or documents to sign. So
Mhm.
even the CC person, but then once everybody has signed, everybody will get a PDF copy of that document.
Okay.
Okay. If we set the signing order and we have multiple signers, then it's going to send it to them in order in which they're listed. So I use this sometimes if we have a husband and wife that are using the same email address for
Mhm.
signatures. That's the only time I really use a signing order, because then it'll send it to whoever's going to sign it first.
Mhm.
And then after they're done signing, they'll get a new email for the next signer instead of getting them both at the same time and getting confused.
Got it. That makes sense.
Other than that, I usually leave this box unchecked. Okay, we're going to
So
hit,
that's only if they're using the same email. 'cause
Only if they're
not, then
using
they're
the
gonna
same.
get the separate.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm going to hit send. Sign later. All right, so now this is going to magically appear slowly but surely. All right, so here now I've got a number 1 here for action required, right? Because I use this email address. So if I click on that, it's going to pull it up. So over here, if I had other people that need to sign, it would have a little hyperlink. And if I hovered over that, it would show me who had signed and who hadn't signed. Okay, if we need to change something from here, we can hit the down arrow and we can hit correct, which allows us to then add new signers or switch up if I missed a signature or whatever before somebody started signing, we could go in there and correct it. It would open it back up to edit that file. We could add documents, add signatures, add people.
Could you, like, let's say you sent it, it came back and you realized you forgot initial spot on there. Could you then correct it and send it back out once they've technically already signed it?
You can, but you have to trick it.
Oh,
So you have to hit correct and then you have to add them again as a new signer
okay.
and then add that initial back in. They'll get a new email to go fix that
So
last.
just for that one, or they have to redo the
Just the
whole
one.
document? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So once somebody's signed, it gets a little harder.
So will you CC like the buyer's agent if they like sent you something that your client needed to sign, or you had to send them something after, would you just CC it so you won't even have to deal with
I
it?
usually don't, only
Okay.
because sometimes I just like to, I'd rather
Control your.
control it and have it
Okay.
send,
That's understandable.
forward
Okay.
it to them. I don't like getting things from Docusign. We got started on the subject, so we want to know if we could delete it or void it. So from
Mhm.
here, I've got a package. I can either delete or void it.
Okay.
So we just go in here when it, and down arrow, you can delete or void. So if I hit delete, it's gonna say, hey, it's gonna delete it. Are you sure you want to delete it? Yes, goodbye. If you void it, it's going to ask for a reason on why you're voiding it. So if you're sending like a new document out, it's a good thing to void it rather than just delete it. Because then you can be like, corrected document coming your way or something like that. So they
Oh.
know that are being sent. And that way they
Okay.
know there's a corrected
So
document.
if you void it, it'll email the person the reason? Is
Yeah,
that what
yeah,
happens?
it'll
Okay.
email them that that link's been voided out.
Got it.
Okay. All right. So there's DocuSign in a nutshell. Now back to our issue of not having the residential purchase agreement able to download. If we log into zip forms.
We knew that. That's so funny. Oh, boy.
If we log into
Everybody's
zip
tracking on
forms.
this recording.
Right.
You should have said start with copy with the beginning of this one.
All right. So inside of zip forms, you have all of your files in here and anything you've sent out for purchases or for signatures. So if you send it through zip forms for signatures.
Oh.
Marking territory over here.
If you go into documents, once we're inside of zip forms, right, we open the file, we go into documents. It's lying to me right here. It's just trying to test my patience. They'll magically appear in a minute. All right. It will save folders for anything that's been signed. So this is the listing agreement, right? In the modification. Oh, you know which one I should have opened? Hold on. Backtrack. Hold on.
I was just gonna have that moment to say that.
This one. This is the one we've been dealing with, that we saw that it didn't download the RPA from Docusign. All right. Might as well stick with the same file. All right, so here's my Kingsley offer right here. If I click on this folder, here's all of the Docusign documents. So it does, once everything's signed, it does save a copy to your zip forms. So if
I'm sorry, pause. Batch from DocuSign saves it to zip form.
yep, because we sent it out from zip forms to
Mhm.
Docusign, so it puts all the files, it boomerangs them back into here.
Okay.
Once they're signed. So see, if I open this one up, it's the signed copy. Okay. Go away. All right, so from here, we could click on this and we could click save as PDF. And then here's where you can select which ones you want to save, and we want to save it to my device as separate PDFs. You guys are hiding my buttons over here. We're going to hit save. Click to download. And I could have done multiple documents from this file as well. So this would be another way to do it. And when I open it up from that downloaded file, it's got it there with all the signatures. So that would be the other way to get that file out, besides of going to DocuSign directly. You can go back into zip forms, open that folder up, which has all the signed documents, and download it from there. Did that make sense, Sam?
Oh, okay, that's good to know. I didn't know it did that.
Yes, yes, thank you so much.
Okay. All right, so that would be the other way. So anytime you send something for signatures from zip forms to DocuSign, it'll always save a file with those signed items in that file. Okay, and each time you send documents out for signatures, like the last one we were on, that my listing, that's got multiple folders, because anytime you send something for signatures, it puts it in a new folder. Okay, and that's why it's good to name your signing, right? When you go to send something out for signatures, you can name it instead of just signatures 1, signatures 2, is because
Bless you.
it'll tell you like listing agreements, modification of terms, right? Modification and disclosure. So it's got everything listed there. Okay, the only thing we didn't get to today was what I said we were going to cover. We'll circle back around to that next on. We'll do it tonight. But we'll record it, Mila. We'll talk about all the forms that get included with your purchase agreement or your listing agreement tonight, what those
Okay.
forms are.
We didn't know on our schedule.
No, we're way off, way off. All right. The other question, that we have, it's 11:06. So if you got to go, you're welcome to go. The other question was in Glide, how to add somebody, your transaction coordinator, to your Glide file. So Glide, just to reiterate, Glide is what we use to send out the seller disclosures, our TDS, our SBQ, our lead-based paint, and our earthquake hazards for our exempt seller disclosure, for our listing files, or and do our Avid. For our buyer files, we can use it for the buyer's inspection election and our Avid.
But that's if you pay for that, one,
No.
right?
No,
Oh,
that's
that's for
all the free.
Okay.
All right. So if we want to, I think Sarah did this one, so it probably won't work, but we'll try it.
I have a question. I'm over
Yes,
here raising my hand. How do
sorry.
you get into Glide?
Glide.com. To log
No.
into it the first time, if you haven't logged
Berries.
into it before, go in through Berries. So go to Berry, the Cal MLS, rapmls.com, and then it'll give it in that main login screen. It'll be one of the added options for you. I do not know the answer to that question right now. All right, so I'm inside the file. If I want to edit it or add somebody, I think if I go to details and parties and go parties, from here, you could add a party and you can add buyer purchase, loan officer, listing team, listing team TC is.
Where did you go? You were like
She looked away for
really
2
fast.
seconds.
All right, so I went to
Oh,
details.
Transaction.
Yeah,
And then party.
and details and parties for this transaction, then went add party, and then you can go listing team TC. And then if they're in there already, you could add them. Otherwise, you hit a new create contact and put in their information, and then it'll add them and send them an email to let them know they've been added. So that's how you would add your TC to the Glide file.
Okay.
Okay, that was a pretty easy answer. Thank goodness.
Way to end it.
Well, actually, no.
Okay. And your TC can send out your seller disclosures as well. So like my TC sends out my seller disclosures a week before we go on market. She sends them out the email to fill out their seller disclosures.
Okay, so let me just make sure I'm following.
Oh,
We have Skyslope,
Uh-huh.
Docusign, car, zip,
Car is zip forms.
car is zip.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, so org.com.
Or
Glide,
car.org
or and command. Are
and
those
command.
those
Yes.
are the 5 or that we will be in? Or is there more?
You
I feel
will-
like those are all that I've ever heard.
Yeah, so you will
for a
spend most of your
transaction.
time in command, right?
yeah.
Before you enter into the transaction, you'll be doing that before you do all your follow-up and everything. And then as you move into a transaction for compliance, your files all go into Skyslope.
Okay.
You will want to accept the offer, create an offer under your opportunities.
Got it.
Inside of command, do your demand. Your demand to get paid goes in command.
Got it.
Okay, compliance is Skyslope. Glide is where we can do our seller disclosures and do our agent visual inspection disclosures.
Okay.
And the buyer's inspection election can also go through Glide, anything that has questions. Docusign is the program that we use to sign documents digitally, and generally we'll access that through zip forms, which is where all of our car forms are located, all of our official purchase agreement forms and everything.
Okay.
I think that does cover most of it.
Okay.
And then I use Disclosures.io for all of my files as a seller file. Even my buyers, I put in as sellers because that's where I load all of my disclosures. And it's Home Light Listing Management is the new name.
Home light listing.
Home Light Listing Management is what you'll find it
Oh,
as.
okay.
on-
HLM.
And that one you can log in through Berries as well.
You said home like what? I'm sorry.
Listing management. It's like Cost Plus World Market. I can't call it the right name.
Funny, that was my first shop.
Same thing here. I call it Disclosures.io because they changed the name on me and I haven't accepted that yet. I just can't remember it. So, right, so I put all of my things in here, whether they're buyer transactions or seller transactions, so that people can see those. So buyers are only ones I've gotten from other people.
Got it. Okay.
But then that gives me a place to upload all of my, like this was a buyer transaction. So I put all of the reports, the CCNRs, NHD, this representative signature capacity trust. So anything my buyers sign go in this file so that they have access to it. And the end of the file, they can just come in here and hit download and download everything and keep it.
Oh, that's what you were saying,
Mhm.
not Docusign, you're talking about.
Yeah.
Disclosure.io
Yeah.
is where you send. So instead of just sending that individual, you just send them that scares everything. but
Yeah.
download what you
And
want
then
to
I
download.
shared this link with them. And then anytime we upload something, it'll say notify viewers of updates. You say yes, and then they'll get an email saying they added the well inspection to the file.
Got it,
Then they
okay.
can go in there and access it.
Question.
Yes.
When you upload all the disclosures, where do you get that disclosure IO link that you put into the MLS?
So we just hit share package right here.
Mhm.
And then it'll pop up a little window and then we hit get share link. And then the really important step right here is we want to change it. It defaults usually to this one. It requires your approval to view. I don't want to be involved in this process. So anybody with this link can immediately view documents. Here's the link. We just copy the link and pop it into your MLS file or send it off to the buyers.
Is that okay? If you're a seller, you're a listing agent, and then the buyer comes in and you have all that exposure, but it has all the seller's information on there because of the disclosures and stuff. Is that okay?
Yeah, they're going to get copies of the disclosures anyways.
Okay.
So I don't do things like in my listing files, I wouldn't upload like the listing agreement or a modification of terms to this file. So something that the buyer wouldn't see on a regular basis, just anything that they're going to see throughout that transaction. It only has the names on there. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. That's
Amy,
all for, yes.
I'm setting up my Glide. So it says transaction management system. Is it Skyslope,
Yes.
zip forms? Okay. so
Oh, put zip
Skyslope,
forms. Put zip forms.
Zip form?
Yep.
Zip form brokerage edition or Docusign transaction room? It says none, Skyslope, broker mint.loop, Docusign transaction room.
I don't know. Go. I didn't like its answer, so go with Skyslope.
Okay.
I don't like its next question, so we'll stick with Skyslope.
And then the preferred signature, e-signature tool is going to be Docusign.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Perfect.